Hello, I'm Kate Eden, and this is Laurel Eden from Eden Consultancy Services. We're doing a series of short videos to provide people with some tools and techniques for psychological resilience through this time of coronavirus. And you might be finding, if you're isolating with your loved ones at the moment, that you're starting to get pretty frustrated and upset at them, and their habits are wearing thin on you. And we just wanted to draw to your attention the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which is basically four attitudes and behaviours that are very destructive to relationships. Can you tell me some more about that, Laurel?
I do a lot of relationship counselling, and when I see those four being predominant in the conversation with a couple, I know that we're almost at the end. And so once you get to the point of that most of your time you're criticising each other, or else you're stonewalling when the other person's talking to you, or you're defensive as soon as they talk to you, or you're contemptuous of them. So it's criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. I think they're all obvious what they actually mean. They're all very nasty emotions. And once again, back around to the idea of how you use your emotional energy, that's pretty well using your full quota. You've got nothing left once you're at that point. And so to resurrect a relationship where those four emotions are predominant is actually extremely hard. So if you're at that point of having, say, one or two of those, watch out, because you'll get the other two for sure.
It seems to me that there's a lot of ego involved with each of those things. I've been trying to become aware of my own ego, and I notice that when I'm criticizing, when I'm being contemptuous and disrespectful, even when I'm being defensive, it's the ego at work. And stonewalling's another way of doing that, because it's another way of protecting the ego. So I'm catching myself in those behaviors. And so talk to me a little bit about what we can do when we catch ourselves to not go down that path.
I guess if you're going to make complaints, make a specific complaint. Be very specific about what it is that's bothering you. If you say, look, I have a problem with the fact that you don't put the dishes in the dishwasher. I have a problem with that you don't put the dishes in the dishwasher.
And I'd like you to put the dishes in the dishwasher. So you're acknowledging, I have a problem, and I would also like you to blah blah. And I guess at that point, that person may or may not do that. But at least you've articulated what you want, and then if they don't do it, then you have to let that go, because then the ego is still attached to that, to being right.
And if you are going to be really gracious, and not many of us are that gracious, you could actually say, so do you have a problem with something that I do or don't do? That would be something. That at least would open a discussion, you know, and the person's liable to be extremely suspicious when you say that. But if you do that genuinely, and that is actually trying to deal with your own defensiveness as well, it's sort of saying, normally I would put up a wall when you said anything like that. I'm actually asking you up front, do you have a problem with anything that I do or don't do? And you might be surprised. They might say something like, well, I wish you'd pick up the grass clippings when you mow the lawn. And you think, oh, I never thought of that. Never thought it bothered you. You didn't know it bothered you.
And I mean, the thing about contempt is that, well, we don't like each other all of the time. And it's interesting that often we're less polite to our most loved ones. We say things to them that we wouldn't sort of say to strangers in the street. So maybe you can't necessarily always respect your partner, and maybe there are some things you don't like about them. But I think the other side of contempt is, how do you validate your partner? So when you're seeing this bad thing, or you've got this negative thing to say, I think trying to replace that and go, well, you don't put the dishes in the dishwasher, but you do the shopping all the time. I really appreciate that.
I think the other thing too is it's quite important to sort of work out the difference between letting something go and stonewalling. Stonewalling implies silence and resentment. Looking at something and letting it go, I'm going to let that one go because it's not worth me expending energy on. It's only a small thing. I'm deliberately going to let that one go. And there's a graciousness about that that's very different to stonewalling.
Stonewalling is also a way of protecting yourself and not taking responsibility, because under this, there may be unsavory things that you're doing, or things about you that you actually need to acknowledge and take responsibility for. Thank you.